It is time for a reality check to see if I can produce a professionally looking video using an iPhone. Most of these big YouTubers out there mostly want us to believe that these phones are great and can actually replace our filmmaking cameras. However, most of the times, these big YouTubers are paid to tell us some of these things, so I tend to take them with a grain of salt. So we decided to take this phone out there to try it, to be able to tell you guys exactly what to expect, what to do, what not to do when taking a mobile phone out for a shoot of this particular nature. I mean, putting it in a professional environment. We actually went out on this day to shoot using the iPhone 14, and all the BTS you are going to be seeing in this particular video is also going to be shot using an iPhone 11. This shoot day was really awesome. I went out with OBL Senior, who was the main subject of this particular production, and also our studio manager, Mr. Rashid Nagumsi, and the guy behind the BTS camera, who is Mr. Fatao, also known as Triple. If you really want to go out and shoot with an iPhone, these are the things you really need to take very key note of. The first thing is that this is a mobile phone, hence the screen is not tiltable. Now, if you are using a professional camera, you can simply just take out the camera and flip out the screen. However, it is also worth noting that it is not every camera that actually has this particular ability. However, even if you decide to include an external monitor so that you'll be able to view from another angle, the main thing here is that you know that you are going with a professional camera. And in most cases, under professional settings, you know that the camera cannot just survive alone without extra accessories. So you may decide to add that on. Well, the variables might be different if you are doing a run and gun situation. Now, does that not defeat the purpose if you are using, let's say, an iPhone? Is it not because of the simplicity? Is it not because of how small and how nimble and how little of a footprint this particular camera leaves behind that we carry it out? And so once you begin to add extra accessories like external monitor so that you'll be able to get a tilt screen, then for me, it cannot defeat the purpose. So it is one thing you must take very key note of, because I struggled a lot in getting a lot of low angle shots. So this is reality check number one. Reality check number two is the automatic reduction of brightness. Now, while shooting in the middle of the sun, the brightness suddenly dropped and I tried to increase it, but still it maintained the same level of brightness. Even though the phone allowed me to increase the brightness, the overall luminosity of the screen actually did not increase. Here is my suspicion. Because we were actually recording this whole video in 4K, I do suspect that Apple has actually kept in this cap to make sure that the phone does not overheat in those particular modes. So I really struggled a lot in seeing the screen, because as you can see, we're shooting here at the northern part of the West African country of Ghana, and at this particular point in time, it is the middle of Harmattan, or the dry season. Hence, the sun was hot and very scorchy. And so that is one other thing you really need to take very key note of. However, like I said, the good side of this is that the phone would not overheat. And that is one other positive side of it. After using this phone for a very long time, this phone never overheated. And for me, that was a sign of joy, because using my Samsung Galaxy Note 9, it always had to overheat in the middle of shoots. And that, of course, guys, is not really nice at all, because of course you would always end up missing shots, which defeats the purpose of why you even set out to make a video in the first place. The other thing is the autofocus using the cinematic mode. The autofocus is really very great, and you can get a lot of bokeh. Bokeh is simply the blur background, and as you can see in these final shots that we got over here, the background looks very blur, very creamy. But you must know that the kind of blur you are seeing here is not the same as what you have on the camera blur. What you see here is basically computational photography and trying to digitally blur the background. However, at very high f-stop numbers, which actually means lower f-stop numbers, the autofocus find it very hard to lock onto subjects all the time. I find it to be a little bit slow. However, it eventually picks up, and once it picks up, it locks onto the subject. But I think it is something worth mentioning, so that if you want to use this and overblur the background, it is something that you must be aware of, that it is quite a little bit slow and sometimes might miss it. However, if it gets it right, it just stays on. Now, I cannot say how amazed I am by the overall picture quality and how solid cinematic mode is on this particular iPhone 14. However, the only downside that a lot of these big YouTubers do not tell you is that in cinematic mode, some functions are limited and you even lose access to some of the lenses. And that is one of the reasons why I love this phone in the first place, especially the wide angle lens. As you can see, in most of these shots, I use the wide angle lens a lot because it just gives the whole thing a larger than life look. And for me, this was very refreshing to see, because if you've been following this channel, you know my love for 50mm lenses. I use them all the time with my professional cameras, and I just tend to like the look that comes along with that. So it was very refreshing seeing this kind of larger than life kind of look, and I kind of like it a lot. And I know that if I was going to replicate this kind of look with my professional camera, I certainly will have to pay a lot to bring along a lens that will be able to give me such kind of a wide angle of view. And so it was quite refreshing seeing this kind of views, and we played a lot with it. And as you can see, even in this particular shots where OBL Sina was sitting down, you could see how large his legs were, and it just kind of looked unique to what we are used to seeing every day. And for me, it was really fun using this particular lenses. But the cinematic mode kind of took a little bit of that joy away from me, because like I said, it didn't allow me to use some of these lenses, which for me defeats most of the purpose. So that is another major thing you must take very key note of if you intend to use your iPhone as a full-time filmmaking thing. Now, one thing that amazed me the most was the battery life on this. Even though we were shooting in 4K, the battery was able to take us right from the beginning to end, and we didn't even consume 20% of the battery even after a very long day of shooting in 4K. And for me, this was an amazing feat that the iPhone had dropped. And for me, I'm very impressed with that whole thing.
I've balanced very heavy cameras on this before. I mean, this is a very good gimbal, and it goes as low as a mobile phone. The iPhone already has some form of stabilization in it. In fact, one of the best in the business. And now it's like putting stabilization on another stabilization, because we have a stabilization gimbal here that we are putting the iPhone stabilization on this particular one. So I'm very curious to see the final results. I guess we are going to end up with this very smooth shots, at least theoretically. Excellent. It means that I've balanced all the axes. In fact, sometimes I even have problems balancing some bigger cameras on this. You hardly get some of the axes. It may not give you 100%, but this is pure 100%, and really amazing, because I wasn't expecting this looking at the weight of the iPhone, because I feel like it's not so balanced, because you don't have a protruding lens and all that. But I guess maybe a lot of things are affecting this, maybe including the case. The case will certainly be adding some form of weight to this. So maybe in terms of some variables to consider, this is one thing you should consider. All right, action.
At OBS Studios, we are more than filmmakers. We are storytellers, educators, and innovators. Join us at OBS Studios as we continue to redefine African cinema. Action. At OBS Studios, we are more than filmmakers. We are storytellers, educators, and innovators. Join us at OBS Studios as we continue to redefine African cinema.
So we went all the way to shoot even to the final shots, and in this particular occasion, we took this shot over and over again until we had the right shot. In the final piece, as you can see, this is just beautiful coincidence. We had this kind of particles just dropping off because of the heavy wind that was happening within the environment. And in the final piece, this is how that particular shot looked like.
Educators and innovators. Join us as we continue to redefine African cinema.
It was really a privilege working with this iPhone for the very first time. And a very special shout out to our very good friend, Mr. PJ, who is actually one of the greatest sound engineers in Ghana of all time. Yes, guys, this phone belonged to him, and we thank him so much for giving us the opportunity to use this to actually go out there and shoot this magnificent piece, and also to be able to share the experiences with you guys. So that once again, as usual, we do a reality check as to all those good things we've, as usual, heard from the big YouTubers about how good these iPhones are. So I do hope I've been able to inspire you to go out there and create a magnificent piece using your iPhone. But here is a catch, guys. You do not need the gimbal that I attached to this particular phone. Just go out there and shoot, because like I established in the beginning of the video,
the stabilization on the iPhone alone is already enough. You don't really need this. This is really an overkill. But hey, I already had it around, so that is why I use this. So if your video is not nice, do not make an excuse that you didn't have this. This is just a compliment. So let me know what you think in the comment section below.
And at the end of all this, if you want to see an extended version of the behind the scene of this whole shooting, I'm going to be posting that in our OBL Studios YouTube page, which is actually linked in the description below. You can click there to watch the full final piece uninterrupted. If you're watching this video at the time where that video is ready, it is actually going to be in the link below. And if you really want to see any of our OBL Studios movies that we've done for the past 14, 15 years that we have been in existence, please go to www.oblstudios.com. Or you can also follow us on Instagram at oblstudiosgh. And I bet you that you are not going to regret it, because we create awesome content using very simple filmmaking tools. If you're seeing my face for the very first time, welcome. This is Africa Amaze channel. Over here, we do talk about cinematography, photography, editing, and all its related branches. If all this sounds interesting, I'll do much appreciate it if you do click on the subscribe button, and please make sure to do turn on the post notification bell so you are notified anytime I drop awesome content like this right here from the continent of Africa. And I will certainly catch you in my next video, where I talk about how you have been deceived about using mobile phones for shoots. Until next time, as always, guys, keep practicing filmmaking. Peace out.